Hello and welcome to the African Regional Conference 2016. I'm James King, the Banker's Africa and Middle East editor, and I'm joined now by Ike Williams, who is the CIO of Heritage Bank. Ike, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
You've just finished a panel on sort of disruptive technologies at the African Regional Conference today, and in it you argued that the banking sector is ripe for disruption, and you said that it hasn't had its Amazon moments. Maybe you can talk us through that idea.
Yes, it's literally. I mean, I've had the opportunity to work in banking and from a technology background. So what I do, I tend to think not like a banker, but someone who looks at how things could improve, how things could be better in years to come. And what I find is that the process of banking hasn't changed in over 100 years. You get little tweaks here and there. Internet banking, you get mobile banking, but all in all, you're still going to the bank. We're at an age whereby your bank shouldn't only come to you, your bank should follow you around, so that you're not having, because whenever you fire up your mobile banking app and then you log in, you are still going to the bank. So we need to change all of that. The process is in place. There are certain things, pockets of changes. I mean, you look at all the Fintech organizations popping up here and there. It's about also doing the other side to it. So the guys who are actually driving the change, they're coming from one end. Now the banks now will need to wake up and think slightly differently. Probably rather than having to fight them off, probably find a way to collaborate and leverage what they are bringing. So I think that yes, the Amazon or the disruptive moment hasn't happened, but it's definitely around the corner because there are banks who are waking up to that.
Okay, now also at this year's conference there's been a lot of discussions around the success of M-PESA in Kenya, and you just argued upstairs that we should be moving beyond this now in terms of our conversation and our focus. Again, what did you mean by that, Ike? Yes,
I think I used the term fluke, which my Kenyan brothers and sisters got a little bit upset about, so let me use the opportunity to apologize to everyone. By the term fluke, I didn't mean that it was something that was insignificant or something that should be thrown away. It's literally that all the stars were lined up in one row at that time. And this is the reason why it has been very difficult to replicate elsewhere. I believe that it was Tanzania that tried, to do it immediately after, and then a lot of failures, happened. But right now, thankfully, that has just started, taking shape. So it will take a little bit. Yeah, my point there is, 2009 thereabouts was when the whole M-PESA thing started. We're now in 2016, and we're still talking about Kenya and M-PESA. We should be talking about probably 30, 40 other successes. So by that, it seems like there's something probably we haven't got right, because truthfully, there should be many, many, many more others. When you hear the likes of Safaricom pulling out, more or less, no longer offering that M-PESA service, it makes you wonder. So what happened with the M-PESA phenomenon? Is it that we just are not looking at why M-PESA worked? Because if we can focus on those, I mean, for me, there are three things which everyone knows that that's why M-PESA was successful, and you can't replicate that elsewhere. One of them being that the regulation really wasn't there. So they had started before the regulator then caught up. So they more or less defined the rules with the regulator, which is something that you can't get anywhere else. Most of the times you find that the regulator's already there waiting for you. And then as soon as you open your doors, they'll jump on you. The other one is also that there was a network that was already there, which is where the Safaricom sort of comes into it. You don't get that simply because, again, the regulator will say to you, look, I don't want monopoly, because by virtue of having a telco who has a network already, now if they now go into financial services, what that does is you could get monopoly in that sphere. So the regulator would literally resist that. And then the other one was the ready market that was already there in Kenya. So these are the things that actually made it easier, and it's difficult to actually replicate that elsewhere without trying harder.
Does this mean that you're somewhat sort of discouraged by the sort of pace of innovation in recent years in terms of Africa's fintech space?
Well, discouraged probably wouldn't be the term. I would say I am optimistic, I'm hopeful, slightly disappointed that it hasn't picked up as it should do. But when I look around, I see that there's a hell of a lot of things happening, and especially in the last year or so, where you can see that there's the pickup is really there. So with the whole M-PESA thing, I think we should be talking about a lot more of the M-PESA, type of successes, rather than over 10 years or so we're still talking about the same one.
Ike, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.